Hi guys, welcome to Safe Diving. Now we're back in my kit locker, and in today's video we're going to be taking a close look at what I keep in my summer kit bag. So if you've watched this video up here, then I basically explain the fact that I always have about 3 different kit bags that are kind of packed all at the same time, just in case. I have one which is my general sort of go-to grab bag, and that has all of my essentials in it, like my masks and my fins and my weight belt and all those kind of things, my dive computer. I have a cold weather sort of bag which is set up, and that's mainly for twin sets and cold water, so with my dry suit and whatnot. And then I have this one here which is my summer bag, and this has everything that I have in it for a sort of a nice warm weather kind of tropical scuba dive. Single cylinders, nothing overly bulky. This is my real kind of stripped down sort of single cylinder set, and a few other accessories. Let's take a look inside. Okay, so first things first, the bag itself is just a pretty standard duffel bag, nothing too fancy about it. Now this often doesn't come with me, because what I usually do is I have this packed up, and then if I am going on a warm weather holiday, if I am scuba diving abroad, then I'll decant this, I'll check over my gear, and then I'll repack it into a bigger bag so that I can actually travel with it. But at least now I know sort of when it's at home, when it's in storage, it's all there, it's all together. Because I used to sort of do it where I'd get home, I'd kind of wash all my kit, and then something would end up over here, something would end up over there, and just my stuff's all over the house. So I thought, okay, I'll just kind of condense it down and make sure that it's always packed really neatly into bags, just so that whenever I need it, it's there. So in my duffel bag, the first thing will be the BCD, which is a little bit big for this bag, but when you see it, it's actually really small compared to a lot of BCDs. So for those of you who have followed me through most of my career so far, you'll know that I'm very much into the backplate and harness setup. So this is a backplate and harness setup, and it's a bit of a hybrid, all sorts of different stuff that I found really useful throughout the ages. And I've basically made this kind of chimera of a BCD, which has just little features that I like. So where shall I start? Let's start on the other side. So on the other side, I just have a really basic cam band with a plastic buckle, because this is for lightness. Most of this BCD has been designed to be as light as possible, so I don't have to worry about luggage allowance and all that kind of stuff. So traditional plastic buckle cam band is fine. My second one is just a really simple sort of pinch clip, nothing really fancy on that. That's just to help sort of keep that sort of cylinder from twisting and turning. No single tank adapter, I don't really go in for those. That's just something else that that you need to sort of invest in and set up, and it's just something else, sort of added weight. On this bladder itself, this is the Apex, this is like a D18 I believe it's called. It's a donut style wing. It's very light, very slim, but it actually comes with this section. Oh, of course it's the 18. It's got this section here, which is effectively a single tank adapter, so that helps hold your cylinder in position and stops it from rolling around. So yeah, so the wing itself is really nice and compact. If you're weighted properly, you really don't need that much lead, so you don't need that much lift. So yeah, you can get away with something this small. If you're weighted properly, then you can add a stage cylinder as well. It's the amount of lift is more to compensate for your negative sort of weight that you're bringing down with you. As far as the harness and the backplate is a Mars XR aluminium backplate. So this is like 3mm of aluminium. It's skeleton as well, so it's got lots of cutouts, so it's incredibly light. The whole BCD is very light when you compare it to a traditional recreational BCD. It's very stripped down. Now, I don't have any padding on this. I dive this just in rash vests, and it's fine, I promise. I've never had that much of an issue, because when you're in the water, this is the positive buoyancy, so this is actually holding you up in a sense, so it's not sort of grinding it down into your back. I've never found a sort of a bare back plate uncomfortable against my back. The harness itself is a single piece harness. This is Apex, I believe. I think it came with these shoulder straps, and these are quite nice. Just a little bit of neoprene over your shoulders, because that just kind of digs in if you're just wearing rash vests. The D-rings, right now I'm actually in two minds about. These are titanium sliding D-rings. These actually move a little bit on your harness, but then when you clip something off onto it, it really sort of digs in. And these are great for short dives, because what I found is, one, they're a lot lighter than the kind of the steel alternatives. They're nice because they do move around, and it's a lot easier to set it up. But on the inside, they do tend to dig in a little bit. So that is a little bit of an issue that I found just when I'm wearing a rash vest. If you're wearing a shorty, then it's not so much of an issue. But yeah, I did find that a little bit uncomfortable after a couple of longer dives. They were getting a bit uncomfortable. Little section of sort of bungee, and this is for stuff like that. This is my backup torch. This is a Simply Scuba Mark 1 torch, and that just clips off. We've got a little X-deep bolt snap, clips off onto that, and that's nice and neat, so that stops that torch from flapping around. It's always exactly where you want it to be, and yeah, it stops it from flapping around. Another one there, just in case I need to sort of clip something off onto it. The inflator, standard K-style inflator, nothing fancy, but this is my preferred style of inflator. It's really simple, easy to use, very intuitive, and it gets the job done. Another one of those loops up here, and this is going to help sort of keep your hose from flapping around, because when that's loose, that just tends to do its own thing over your shoulder. So actually having that sort of bungee loop holds that and keeps it so you know where your inflator is at all the time. Down to your waistband. So the waistband, again, I just got a Scuba Pro metal weight belt, sort of style quick release. On my right-hand side, sorry, on my left-hand side, this is probably the most interesting thing, if I move the crotch strap out of the way. Now just here, you will see an A-gear Harper loop. So, so what this does is, instead of fixing that harness in so that your shoulder straps are just a fixed length, this allows you to actually sort of lengthen off that shoulder strap so you can get in and out of it a lot easier. And then when you're actually in the unit, you want to tighten it up, you pull on your waistband, and that pulls that nice and tight, and it just gives you a better fit, but without breaking that loop, which is very, very important, because you don't want to use brakes for obvious reasons. On my left-hand hip, I have a straight D-ring. This is from my SPG, my pressure gauge, and that's just a traditional sort of steel. I'm actually in the market for an aluminium one. I'm just trying to find someone that actually sells them. Again, I used to have a titanium one on that, but that just dug into my hip a bit much, so I took that off. The crotch strap, much softer. D-ring on the front for a DPV, just in case I ever use one. And then down at the bottom, sort of right on top of my hips, I've got a little D-ring there, so that's for spools. And then just down here, I've got this plate here. The plate is really designed for a canister light, for sort of side mounts, but I tend to use it for my, my DSMB. I tuck it in there, that way it's out of the way, it's just sort of in the small of my back, and it's close to my spools, so it's exactly where I want it to be. And the bungees just hold it in position, and touch wood, it's never been an issue for me. I've never lost a DSMB putting it there, but yeah, I just kind of like it having that there. So that's my BCD, very, very light. I haven't actually weighed it, but incredibly light, and yeah, that's what I dive with, single cylinders in sort of warm waters, and yeah, it's never let me down. So let's see what else I've got in my little bag. Okay, my next thing is going to be my regulators, I imagine. So my regulators, so these are Apex. So these are Apex XTX50s with a DST first stage. They're a bit all over the place for you to see if I try and tidy them up. Maybe it'll help. So I just love these, mainly because the first stage that it comes with, the DST, it's a 5-port swivel turret. So that just allows for a better sort of hose routing mechanism. You've got that swiveling turret down here. So the hoses, if you do need them in a slightly different angle, they are going to give. They are going to sort of move around without putting too much strain anywhere. Starting at the first stage, so this is in a single cylinder kind of DIR setup. So what that means is it's gonna be that way up on my cylinder. So it's gonna be that way up as you're sort of looking at it. And then my long hose, which is sort of 1.50 meters. So this goes straight down my back. And this goes underneath a little loop, or even my dive knife that you've seen in my my main kit bag. Again, if you haven't seen that video, then click on that little card up there, and that loops under there. It loops up and then around behind my neck, and then my second stage, my primary second stage, the one that I'm breathing from, goes in my mouth. And that's this one here. So this guy has a little bolt snap, a little X-Deep bolt snap there, so I can clip it off if I ever need to. And that's set away from the second stage, so that I kind of know exactly where it is intuitively. It's one hand's width away from it, and it just means that I can sort of grab hold of it a bit easier without that sort of bolt snap getting in the way. It comes on a 90-degree swivel. Because this hose is effectively coming over my my right hand shoulder. If the hose comes in at a straight, like 180-degree angle, that's going to create a weird kind of bulge around. So this just makes it much neater. It gives more space around my neck so it doesn't sort of dig in. And then the second stage itself, I just have it with the compact setup, just so it's a bit neater. When I'm actually diving it, this one will be screwed all the way out. The Venturi, I don't really care, to be brutally honest. I don't notice that much of a difference. Standard Comfort Bite mouthpiece, and that's about it in the standard setup. And then my Octo, my alternate as it were, so that sits, pardon me, that sits on this hose here. So this comes over my right hand shoulder, and this is on a really neat short little hose, and that just sits in a necklace around my neck. So that way, if my buddy is in trouble, he needs to breathe, then what I can do is I can take the second stage that I'm breathing from, this little guy, I know that one's working, so I can take big breath of air, I can just loop it over my head really quickly, pass it to him. He then has 1.5 meters to sort himself out, and then I know that my alternate is sitting in a necklace right around my neck, and I can just go straight to that. This one will usually be dialed all the way in, just so it's less likely to free flow, and then if that one doesn't work, then I've still got that big breath of air. I can take this one back and we can buddy breathe if we need to. But I don't have lots and lots of slack in that hose, so that's nice and neat. There's nothing kind of flapping too much over my right hand shoulder. That's a kind of a long hose primary donate setup. So I have a few others. So my high pressure ports, I've got 2 high pressure ports, one coming out of either side. Over my right hand shoulder, I have my, this is an Aqualung transmitter, and this actually talks to my Shearwater Perdex. For those of you that don't know, Shearwater dive computers, they connect to any transmitter that was made by Pelagic, and Aqualung now owns Pelagic. So Aqualung transmitters work with them, Oceanic transmitters work with Shearwater computers, and of course Shearwater transmitters who are made by Pelagic work with Shearwater. So I have this just on a short, like 6-inch hose, just so that, I mean, these are quite expensive transmitters, so if that's actually bolted straight onto the body, if something just knocks it, it's going to damage it. Whereas if something knocks it on this, it just kind of takes the abuse and it moves around. So it's a bit safer, and it also reaches a little bit over the shoulder, so the transmission is a little bit clearer. I've also added a section of neoprene. This is just something that I had from a one of those old like Camelback hydration systems, and it was a neoprene like sleeve that went over the hose, I presume for cold weather or whatever it was for, but actually it fits over that hose really, really nicely, and protects that from sort of bumps and scrapes in overhead environments. Just be aware that you do have to peel it back every now and then and check that hose for any kind of degradation. My other high pressure hose comes to my left hand side, just a standard sort of rubber hose, and that leads to a, this is a Hollis brass tempered glass gauge. Nice and strong. I prefer these compared to the lighter, like compact gauges. I know they're a lot lighter, but I've had a few of those fail on me. I think I actually have one here. No, I've got so much in there. But the little compact ones, they actually rattle. I'm not a huge fan of that. It just doesn't feel solid to me. These ones are nice and strong. I have this on a large bolt snap, again about a hand's width away, and this is another X-Deep bolt snaps. I do really like these, and this is just a sort of an offset large eye, so that when I'm checking my gauge, I can use that to control it, look at it, and then go straight back to clipping that off onto my sort of waistband. And then I just have a low pressure inflator hose that goes into my my BCD. Nothing fancy there, and that's it for my regulators. Nothing overly fancy, but it's just the way that I set it up. If you don't know, look into sort of long hose primary donate setups. I definitely recommend them, because I've been in a few scrapes where I've needed to donate gas, and it just works so seamlessly, and it just gives you so much space compared to the sort of standard yellow opto on like a 90 centimeter hose. This just gives you so much more room just to sort of sort yourselves out. Okay, just as a little appendix, this is my other kind of single cylinder setup. These are my Poseidon Cyclones, and I love these to bits, mainly because I'm very much a retro scuba diver. I do like this old style, sort of retro style second stage. The only reason why they're not the ones that I'm using right now is just that they haven't been serviced in a while, so I do need to sort of pull them apart and make sure they're still working properly. But very similar kind of setup. So my first stage, DIN first stage, I always go with DIN just because it's safer and it's a lot lighter, especially for travel. I have a standard brass with a glass SPG on that, just because I prefer them. I just find they're a bit stronger. My my alternate comes on a short hose, and that goes around a necklace around my neck. And then my primary is on a really long hose. I think this might be a 210. And then that's my primary. So I just like the Cyclone, the second stage. It's ambidextrous by design, so it doesn't matter which way up it is. It's always kind of the right way up, so it's very good for donating to someone. And yeah, it just gives a nice flow, a decent breath, and yeah, I just really like the style of them. So yeah, these are my kind of traditional single cylinder setup when I'm traveling. But yeah, just at the moment I've got my twin set. The XX50s, I just have them set up in a single cylinder, so that's the ones that I showed you. Okay, so what else have I got in my bag? I think most of it is just going to be exposure protection. So the first thing is the boots. So these are Scuba Pro Everflex Arch 5mm boots or something. So these are a soft-soled pair of boots. I just like the ergonomics of it and the fact that they don't have a zipper. So most of my zippered boots, I've been through a few, the zipper invariably just kind of slips down, whereas with these ones, there is no zipper, so it always kind of stays up, which is quite nice. And on the inside, they're really, really nice and warm, thanks to this kind of diamond flex, I think they call it, lining, or diamond span. Very, very warm, nice and comfortable, and yeah, it doesn't matter how warm you go with them, you're never going to get hot feet, so that's not an issue for me. So they're my boots. Those goes in my RK3 fins. Again, they were in my main kit bag in the other video. As far as actual exposure protection, I have my Fourth Element Xenos Shorty in the alloy blue. I like blue. My plans at the moment are actually to swap out all of my hoses to blue hoses, but yeah, it just makes you stand out a little bit in the water because everyone's wearing black. A little flash of blue is just a little bit exciting. The Xenos, so this is like a 3mm, yeah, 3mm shorty. Nothing overly fancy, but yeah, you can kind of feel the niceness, the sort of the quality in the material and the cut. Very, very comfortable, very easy to get in and out of it all by yourself. That's definitely the wetsuit of choice for me, especially when I'm diving in sort of warmer waters. I just like a pretty standard 3mm shorty, not so much buoyancy, but it just takes the edge off for me. And then the only other things in here will probably be my rash vests. At the moment I have 3. My newest one obviously is blue, because I like blue. So this is a Scuba Pro, it's like a T-Flex I think they call it. This has a really high UPF factor. This one's actually quite new to me, which is why it looks quite nice. But the main benefit of this is UPF 80, so this is actually acting like sunscreen, so you don't have to wear sunscreen, because if you didn't know, sunscreen leaches into the water and a lot of it can damage the reef. So if you can not, then that's a benefit. Long sleeves as well, so it protects your arms from sunburn. I've got sunburn from sitting on a rib and traveling to a dive site from the liverboard, on my knees wearing a shorty. So yes, you can get sunburn really, really quickly in kind of tropical temperatures. So yeah, I do like to cover up. But I do have a couple others because it's always smart to have more than one. Trying to put on a wet rash vest is one of the worst experiences you'll ever do. So my other one is this one. This is a 4th Element. It's actually inside out. But again, long sleeves, and it just kind of protects you. So if you are in really, really warm temperatures and you don't need that rash vest, again, it's protecting you. It's white, so again, you really stand out really nice and bright. And I always have a short sleeve rash vest. Again, this is a 4th Element. Short sleeve, just because you've got to even out the tan lines. Because yeah, you go on a holiday, you're off to the Philippines or someone glorious, and you come back and you don't have any tan lines. Your hands are just a little bit darker and your face is a bit darker. But no, it's just nice to have a short sleeve, again, just so you can prove that you've actually been on holiday. Again, this is a 4th Element. This is like a hydro skin, I think they call it. So it's a little bit longer, so it does overlap. I don't think it's quite as thick as the Scuba Pro, but yeah, I've worn these for years, and yeah, they don't look that bad actually. They wash up quite nicely. And that's it. That's in my my kind of summer kit bag. Obviously, I do bring sort of other stuff. Most of it is in that other video if you want to watch that. And yeah, those are my summer essentials when I'm going on a sort of a warm water sort of scuba diving trip. But yeah, if you want to see my cold water kit bag, I'll film that next. One of my subscribers, Ben, he said, can I do one on knots, which I'll also aim to sort of film this week. All the different essential scuba diving knots, so that will be coming up in the next few days. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, but of course, let me know what you guys sort of scuba dive with. Pop that down in the comments below, and sort of why you prefer different setups for regulators, for BCDs, why you like my setup, why you don't like it. Let me know down in the comments below, and yeah, I'll get back to you. Maybe I'll sort of update my setup based on your recommendations. Let me know. Obviously, in these times, make sure that you're keeping safe and healthy, and your family as well. Let's help stop transmit this disease. Thank you for watching, and of course, safe diving.